oh, you need a rest day. Oh, you need to do this. None of us are professional athletes. I get up in the morning, I pour a cup of coffee, and I read for 30 to 40 minutes, and that's it.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking part in this immersive listening experience. A meaningful existence is a moving target that, no matter how close, will always be out of reach. We hope this message finds you with an outstretched hand. As we attempt to uncover complex truths, remember, life's toughest questions can be answered if we all just focus on one thing: being good people.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Good People, episode 63. My guest today is me. In today's episode, I will be discussing 7 habits that will actually improve your life. I have spent plenty of time in the self-improvement space, and quite frankly, I think a lot of the advice out there is kind of bullshit. And I hope that with this episode, that I give some very clear, very concise, very cut and dry things and habits that you can put into your life if you don't already have them that will actually improve it. If you guys are on YouTube, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on our notifications so you don't miss our weekly uploads. The best way that you can help us grow this thing is by sending and sharing this episode with someone who you think would enjoy it. Without further ado, enjoy the show. All right, I'm going to kick this thing off. I'm going to say I'm drinking a beer. If you're on YouTube, I'm showing it up. I'm drinking a non-alcoholic beer. When I did my year 2023 of no alcohol, I had a couple of these left over, and I got to get through them somehow. Was in the mood for a beer. It's 1:45 in the afternoon when I'm recording this, and I have to go to work later, so I thought it would be irresponsible of me to drink an actual beer, so I'm going to drink one of these non-alcoholic beers. But if you're sitting at home listening to this episode, feel free to crack one open or grab your beverage of choice. You definitely could have heard that, but if you couldn't hear it, I just opened it. All right. The reason why I wanted to create this episode is because I think there is a lot of BS advice, especially in the self-improvement space. And I think that I have something to say about it that is actually helpful. I've done a number of cool things that I think most people would say are accomplishments, or at least worthy of praise. I've done a couple of ultramarathons, 50-mile, 50Ks. I've run one 100-mile race. I'm training. I'm kind of close to my purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for like 4 years. But anyways, the self-improvement world, I've done this podcast for definitely over a year now. And I've spent a lot of time working on myself. I've spent a lot of time helping people in the fitness world working on themselves. And in my experience and my observation, this is what I think works the best. The basic structure of this that I'm going to go through is basically the lowest hanging fruit are going to be the first items to the highest hanging fruit. And I think that the first couple things that I go over will have the most impact on your life if you're not doing them already. So, first one is daily exercise. It still blows my mind that people don't see the value of exercise. And without a doubt, this is the most impactful habit that you can build because of everything that it does for you. This does not just affect your physical health. It does. You're going to live a lot longer time. You're going to have a much better time living when you're alive, but it also affects your mental and emotional health. And if you experience any regular feelings of disquiet or uneasiness or anxiety about your health, about mental or physical, and you don't exercise, this is 100% the place to start. This will 100% help you. And it probably won't cure, especially I would imagine there are people that deal with levels of anxiety and depression and genuine mental health disorders. I think that it will 100% help, but not cure. And so, speak to your doctor. However, this should be like step number 1. If I'm not doing well, have I exercised recently? Have I gotten into an exercise routine? That's the place to start. I will also say this too. So you'll notice I use the specific words daily exercise. Okay. A lot of people, especially in the world that I come from, work at a CrossFit gym, say, oh, you need a rest day. Oh, you need to do this. And I'm not saying you don't need a rest day. However, none of us are professional athletes. It's likely that we all want to live our lives with good function and in good health. And I am of the mind that you don't necessarily need a rest day. Exercise should be intense, it should be short for the most part. And if you are in the gym absolutely throttling yourself every single day, you probably need to take a rest day. But I am of I'm aware that I think most people that don't have an exercise routine, one of the reasons why they don't have one is because they don't love exercising. And so I'm here to tell you, you don't need to exercise super high intensity all of the time to get the myriad of benefits from it. If you honestly show up to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and you get some pretty decent strength training in, and you go for walks regularly on the days that you're not in the gym, and you just generally move your body, you are going to be in the top 10% of fitness in the entire world. And that is I think what my point here is that the barrier to entry here is significantly lower than people give it credit for. And a lot of people think that you need to show up to the gym 5, 6, 7 times a week, but you don't. You just need to exercise regularly, I think daily, at a moderate intensity, and do it for years and years and years and years, and you'll reap the rewards from it. That's not a very popular thing to say, unfortunately, but it's true that the benefits to exercise, you might not see them right away. You might not see them in the first couple of months, but 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, especially 10 years into a consistent, regimented, structured plan, you will 100% without a doubt reap all of the significant benefits of exercise. Can't say it enough. Um, Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes, start with 15, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. Just start. I think most people get hung up on what it is that they're trying to do. Um, And then last thing I'll say on the exercise specifically, I think convenience is probably the most important thing for people, especially in the Western world. Convenience is something that we value so highly. When it comes to convenience, I think just do whatever works best. You know, it convenience could be the thing that you like. So I do CrossFit. I love CrossFit. I'm going to do CrossFit more than I would do other things, so I do that. If you don't care at all about what it is that you do, you just want to start a routine, and there's an Orange Theory a half a mile from your house, just go to that, because the barrier to entry is going to be a lot lower than if you drive 20 minutes across town to get trained by a personal trainer, right? I got advice from Linda Hancock once, and she said things in life are a lot like pairs of shoes. You just have to keep trying different pairs of shoes until one fits. So whether it's a therapist or a diet plan or an exercise routine, just keep trying different iterations until one sticks. If you don't like something when you try it initially, that's probably for good reason, and that's okay. You just have to try something else. People usually get started and then they don't like something and then they quit and they don't try anything else. You have to be able to pivot until you find something that sticks. Number 2, a diet/food plan. Nutrition is so important. I was speaking to somebody at the gym the other day, and I had mentioned to them that I always get frustrated because I love to train and I love to work out hard, but from a body composition perspective and from a performance perspective, it frustrates me that like 75% of the results that you get are based on your diet. And I think one of the issues is that the nutrition and diet recommendation world on the internet is, I think, even more convoluted than the fitness world, which is already a nightmare if you're from the outside and don't have a lot of education about it. People are saying wild, outlandish things about what it is you should be eating, what it is you shouldn't be eating. And it's causing a lot of problems, eating disorders, just health problems. And like, for example, if you think, oh, I'm going to do the carnivore diet because that's what everybody's talking about, you can seriously cause problems, major problems that could affect you for the rest of your life if you do that and you have certain prerequisites about your health and predispositions that could cause major problems, right? And so the nutrition world is it's like the Wild West. It's just so convoluted and there's so much out there. And it's why I'm not going to give anybody specific nutrition advice. However, I will say this. I think if most people just accepted the truth, and this is true for workouts too, as it is for nutrition, but especially so with nutrition, that the most reasonable approach is the correct approach. And that is, if you move your body regularly and if you eat whole foods with protein and you have fruits and vegetables at most meals and you don't overconsume calories, you are going to have a healthy body composition. You will likely like the way that you look, you will function well, and you will feel good for the majority of the time. And it takes a long time for some of these adaptations to occur, and people get frustrated with that and they want the magic pill right now, and they can't have it right now, and it causes them to go out of their logical mind and start looking for solutions elsewhere until something sticks, right? And everybody's journey with this is going to look a little bit different. However, I will say you need to find something that is sustainable long term and actually gets you moving in the right direction that you want. And once you find that thing, likely with the simple approach that I just described, you have to just trust that it's going to work, because logically it's going to work. And if you just stick it out, it will work. So stop giving up so easily. This is going to be different for everybody too, based off of food preferences, relationship with food. I get that. But again, this is another example of find what works. Okay. Exercise, diet. That fixes all the problems right there. Like, if you are feeling any sort of disquiet and you don't exercise and you don't eat well, do those things and you will 100% feel at least a little bit better. Number 3, journaling/introspection. Okay. I will start by saying I do not consistently journal, and I do it sporadically when inspiration strikes. It is like the muse has come to me. I should write this down type stuff. I do, however, spend a lot of time contemplating my personal goals, my ambitions, my relationships, myself, the path that I'm on, my place in the world, in the universe, etc. Okay. And so when I say journaling, what I really mean is creating some sort of introspection habit. I think that is super crucial to your overall wellness, especially on the emotional and the spiritual side. There is no consistency to the time or place that I do this. I'm just one of those individuals that I live my entire life inside my head. And number one, I like to be introspective. And number two, I'm naturally a thinker, anyways. And so this is pretty easy for me to fall into. And I don't think that I've ever really had a problem with being introspective on myself. Okay. But something that I've come to learn is from talking to a lot of people specifically is that a lot of people aren't like this. A lot of people don't spend a lot of their time in their head. A lot of people, just kind of go through the motions, and they wake up one day and they're 30 something years old and they're like, how did I get here? And there's not really a lot of forethought to that, right? I'm one of these people that I'm constantly planning. Okay, if I take this path, then these options are open to me. But if I do this instead, then these options are open to me, and it might leave a little bit of room on the table for this thing to happen. And I have all of these different interests and things that I would like to do. And I feel like I'm kind of constantly pulled in every which direction. So I would imagine that a lot of people are probably on two opposite spectrums here. You either don't do this at all, or you're probably like me and you do it too much, and it can be harmful, I guess, at times. I think this is especially hard if you don't spend a lot of time in your head thinking. However, I think it's extremely important to be the director of your life. I've had an idea recently, and I spoke with Jack Crow on episode 61. I've spoken to a lot of people about it actually since then, but it's the cost of growth. And the cost of growth is that if you are to become a better person, if this whole self-improvement thing works, then the cost of growth is that you will be a different person when you become new or when you grow than when you first started. Right. And so what that means more specifically, I think, is that the wants and desires of the person that you are going to become are going to be different than the person that you are now. Okay. And I think where we can get problematic here is that maybe the direction that you want to take your life is going to be different when you become better. Okay. And so I think that, in the idea that I have, is that there is a crossroads here. There's an intersection between those two things. There is a thing that simultaneously honors what you want right now and what you think you should be working on, and what you speculate that future person wants. So a good example of this, especially for somebody my age, like I'm getting married later this year, I'm thinking a lot about like future family, financial situation with kids one day, 6, 7, 8 years from now. I know that when I have kids, it's going to become the most important thing for me in my life. But I can't only think about that, because then that is to sacrifice what the person who I am right now wants for the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, right? But there exists a crossroads here, and it's a narrow path. But the person that I am now wants to challenge himself, wants to grow as an individual, wants to do hard things. And if I know that the person who I'm going to be wants more financial security, wants time and space to have a family life, there are certain paths that I could take that eventually will lead me to doing both. Right. And I think that that is a super important thing to honor. And the only way that I could have gotten to that is by spending time and being introspective. If you do not naturally think a lot about this, the journal is the best place to do it, because it's quick, it's easy, you can do it daily, you can actually articulate your thoughts and create space between you and the page, and you can spend lots of time fleshing out exactly what it is that you mean. Okay. Number 4, reading/learning. I put reading/learning because I understand not everybody is a reader. I've been reading pretty much every single day. I've missed a handful of days, I'm sure, for over a year, probably closer to 2 years at this point. I don't know exactly when I committed myself to it. And I will admit that reading, especially every day, it's hard to do. You really have to be committed to do it. However, it is amazing for your wellness, not just like learning things and engaging with the page, but I think in terms of being a human being, learning and developing and knowing history and knowing like made up fictional stories. These are all really explore, I don't even know if I'm going to say this right. Explorative? No, that's not a word. Uh, this is a way that we can explore other worlds, other ideas, other minds, and it. Why would you not? You take the wisdom and experience of somebody else if you had the opportunity to. And there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of books out there that allow you to do that for relatively cheap. If you can't buy books, go to your local library and get a library card, right? Another note on reading is that I think as a society, most people would agree with this. Our ability to communicate and speak clearly and be precise with our word seems to be diminishing. And I'm here to say that reading is a hack to fix that. Exposure to different language, and don't just like mindlessly read and use inferences to decipher what unknown words are. Like if you come across a word that you don't know, look it up on Google or get a dictionary and write it down. I think over time, if you sort of engage with the reading that you do with the intention of actually improving yourself and learning something, even if you're reading fiction, you can learn so many new words and ways to say things and types of storytelling by engaging with that kind of content. I am way better at speaking. And number one, I've been doing the podcast too, which that helps for sure. But since reading every day, I would say that my word choice is more precise. I am more articulate. I am way better at speaking and telling stories than I was before I started reading. On that note too, I think that beyond reading, as long as you're learning something, you're checking this box. You know, if you're not a reader, listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, watch documentaries. Just do some apply for I just downloaded Babbel, that app, and I'm trying to learn Spanish. Like just pick something and learn it. And once you feel like you've gotten to where you're satisfied, move on and try to learn something else. Naval has a quote that is read what you love until you love to read. This is exactly what's happened to me over the last 2 years. When I graduated college in 2021, I went through a long bout where I didn't feel like reading anything. Just I was tired of reading textbooks and things that I wasn't interested in. And so when I started my habit, I pretty much read exclusively fantasy and sci-fi. Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss and Red Rising are probably the two there that I really, really was super into. And I can't say enough how much reading those books and those types of books reinvigorated my desire to read. And now I want to read everything. Like I'm reading a book about samurai right now. I just have read Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s like biography on his family that he wrote. Like it was about American history and everything that was happening in the 60s and 70s and 80s, right? Super fascinating stuff. And I only got there because I read the stuff that I liked first. An interesting idea that I've been playing around with, and again, this is one that I don't personally do because I don't really feel like I have a problem consuming information-based things, but I think it could be helpful for somebody, so I'll mention it. I think most people we consume a lot of entertainment. Um, Netflix, all the streaming services, right? Insert your favorite binge-worthy show. I think a good perspective to try to take, and you don't have to do this all the time, but instead of watching for entertainment and reading for education, read for entertainment and watch things for education. So if you're super into watching things and it doesn't matter what it is, instead of watching insert, your favorite TV drama, turn on a documentary or watch something that is going to give you some maybe historical context or just something that fascinates you that is more information based than anything. I think is a great thing to do when if you're stuck on watching and consuming that way. And reading for entertainment, there's so many good books out there that aren't about science or astrophysics or history or philosophy that are actually really engaging to read, and there's character development, and I think engaging with the page and reading actual words and seeing language in the line on the page is so valuable for speaking and storytelling. And if you have no preference of how you consume your content, then why not watch things for information and why not read things for entertainment? The fifth point that I wanted to bring up is wake up early. Okay, so again, now we're kind of getting to the habits that aren't for everybody, probably won't make as much or as big of a difference as the previous four that I have mentioned, but nonetheless, I think that they are worth mentioning, and I do think that they will make a significant impact on your life. So number 5 is wake up early. Also, I think it was this is an aside. I think it was a YouTube short. Somebody commented once and they said that I was like drinking something in a podcast. There's no way that I can talk for like 30 to 40, 45 minutes without taking a drink. My voice is even doing it right now. So bear with me if there's a long pause. I'm taking a drink of my fake beer. Okay. Wake up early. I think there are people who are night owls. Yes. They work better at night, especially if your job requires it. But I think most people would do better if they were to wake up early. If you're successful and you work at night, just ignore what I'm about to say. This message is not for you. But what this comes down to for me, honestly, isn't necessarily about waking up early. It's about making sure that you get enough sleep. Turn your phone off. There's nothing for you on there. Close your eyes and go to bed. I think a lot of people waste a lot of time in those like hour or two before bed where they're just kind of like scrolling or doing this or doing that. And then you're groggy in the morning and you don't feel rested. If you just tighten up those last couple of hours of your day and you commit yourself to going to sleep on time, you're going to feel so much better throughout the rest of your day. Another reason why I think the mornings work so well is because nothing has happened yet. There's literally nobody out there to bother you at 4, 5, or 6 in the morning. And on that note, what it allows you to do is it allows you to get the hard thing done first. There's the famous Mark Twain. I don't even know if Mark Twain actually said this, but it's attributed to him, the eat the frog quote, where it's if you have to eat a frog every day, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And then he says, if you have to eat two, it's best to eat the biggest one first. I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? Wake up and do the things that you want to do. If you want to be a writer, you should write. If you want to be a reader, you should read. If you want to be in shape, you should work out. Do whatever it is that you need to do to get ready and check the biggest box first. What do I need to do today? It's done. I woke up and I did it. I'm super anti morning routine, by the way. Just do the things you want to do the most. I get up in the morning, I pour a cup of coffee, and I read for 30 to 40 minutes, and that's it, right? Again, because of the self-improvement space, there's so much dialogue. I get a lot of people are parents. A lot of people have kids. I would say for the most part, unless you have like a newborn, and a lot of people do, like your kids probably aren't up at 4 or 5, and it doesn't have to be like a whole thing. Just spend like 15 to 30 minutes doing something that you want to do. And I think that over time, you don't realize how much the cumulative effect of doing that really does drastically improve whatever it is. You get a lot of work done over time if you do that. Just for me personally, I get up around 4 most days. This isn't necessarily by design. I work at either 5:30 or 6:30 pretty much every single day of the week, so I'm sort of forced to. However, I do expect that, if I ever have to put on the suit and tie and go to a 9 to 5, I'll still get up probably at 4 and probably the latest 5:30, just because I've realized how valuable that morning time is, right? It's just so valuable. Like, when you're at work and you have this to-do list and you're getting things done, and then things just keep getting added to the to-do list, if you've waited all day to work out or write or work on the project that you're trying to work on, you will never get to it. The day will just keep catching up to you. So you need to get it done first thing in the morning. Okay. And then the other thing I would mention for that is if you, it's the sleep thing again. If you're getting up at 4 and you're only getting 4 hours of sleep at night, you probably are doing more harm than good. So obviously, use your own discretion, do what works best for you, examine your own life, and see how this fits in. But I would say, for the most part, people that struggle, just go to bed earlier and get up early. Number 6, I actually didn't know whether to put get up early or number 6 first. So I would say these are kind of like on the same level in terms of their effect on you. But in terms of wellness, I think something to address is going for regular walks. It's extra exercise. You're getting more movement in. There's more contemplation time. Like if you leave your phone and headphones at home, which I know is hard to do, you spend a lot of time in your head. You can think through things. I'm the weird guy that sometimes I'll talk to myself out loud while I'm going for a walk to work through some of the things that I'm thinking about. You're going to get outside. That might even require a little bit of discipline. Is it too cold? Is it too hot? Like, doesn't matter. I'm going to walk because I've committed myself to it. Again, I just mentioned this, but I think leaving your phone at home is super valuable. And you learn to be with yourself and enjoy your own company. I just said I talk to myself. Like, I enjoy, and I would say this probably wasn't always true, but I enjoy being in my own head. I like the person that I am. I think that I've got a lot of good ideas, and I like to be in my brain playing around with some of those things. And again, it wasn't always like that. And one of the ways that I've done it is I've just spent more time contemplating, and going for a walk is one of the ways to do that. I don't have a walking habit that I'm committed to every single day, but I would say that I walk really regularly, especially with my dog, like 3 or 4 days a week usually. On another note with that too, in terms of the contemplation, what I mentioned earlier, where there's that crossroads between the person who you are now and the person that you're going to become, I think that is space and time to sort of figure out where that narrow pathway is, and no pun intended, walk towards it. Okay, last point. The seventh thing, this isn't really a habit as much as it's a mindset or a framework. It's stop putting it off. Don't put it off. Stop waiting. JFK has a quote. I learned this quote recently, and I loved it so much I made a little graphic and I printed it out, and it's on my desk. The quote is, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget the highest form of appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." This is about action. Marcus Aurelius says, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." Right? It's action. Action, action, action. It's doing the thing. One of the problems, I think, with the self-improvement space is that we're constantly talking about it, what it means to be and do good. We think about it. We plan how we're going to do it. We talk to our friends about it. But when it comes down to it, what are you actually doing? What are you actually doing? All of those things I just mentioned, like the thinking about, the planning, the talking to your friends, that's not actually doing the thing. Doing the thing is doing the thing. So if you want to get in shape, you have to work out. If you want to be well read, you have to read. So stop thinking about what the outcomes are going to be and just actually commit yourself to doing it. Think back to the morning routine thing that I talked about. One of the reasons that I think morning routines are shit is because there's so many prerequisites to actually getting into the thing that you want to be doing. It's like if you wake up and you have to do your supplement lineup, and then you have to do your cold plunge, and then your 5-minute yoga session, and then you have to do your butter coffee. It's like a whole hour has gone by before you've actually gotten to the thing that you want to do. Like, wake up, go pee, pour a cup of coffee, and then do the work, right? That's what I do. And again, it doesn't work for everybody, but I think minimizing the amount of obstacles that are in your way before you can actually do the things that are going to move the needle forward for you, or going to make you fulfilled, or going to make you happy, is so important to actually getting things done, right? And you're going to go through bouts of this where you feel like you're really committing yourself to it and you're actually doing the thing, and then you're going to feel like you're more dancing around with it and thinking about it, and that's totally normal. But I think this serves as a good reminder that if you ever feel like you're spending more time talking about the thing, you're not actually doing the thing, right? Would you rather be something, or would you rather do something, right? And a good example of this is, like, I've run 100 miles, and I've run ultra marathons in the past, and every time I've committed myself to running an ultra marathon, the months preceding it are followed by virtually no running. Now, I still train, I still work out hard, but my point stands is that I don't necessarily want to be a runner. Right? And so for me, I've done the hard thing. Like, I have been a runner, but the people who show up consistently, who sort of commit themselves to the idea of whatever it is that they would like to be, are usually going to be more successful in the long run, right? And so, yeah, that's it. I think keeping it super simple. Those are the actual 7 things that I think will improve your life. Nothing crazy. It's super simple. It's things that you can start today, tomorrow, right away. Exercise well is the first one. Make sure you're following some sort of diet or nutrition plan. Regularly engage in some sort of journaling or introspection time. Regularly engage in some sort of reading and or learning time. Wake up early, go for a walk, and then stop waiting and just start doing the thing. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Good People. If you guys are on YouTube, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on our notifications so you don't miss our weekly uploads. If, while you're listening, you enjoyed, please share this episode with someone you love, perhaps your grandma. See you next time.